All right, on this episode of the All Kinds of Weather Forecast, we're going to be talking about a team that probably liked the way we ended our last show by doing this, because Florida beat Texas to finish their, I think, first three-game real gauntlet of this season with at least one win. We talked about Miami. We're talking about LSU, Miami, and Texas being the deciding gauntlet for Florida. Gators wound up going 1-2 in that stretch. They also have an ugly loss before that stretch even began to another team that does the horns up signal in South Florida. We're going to talk today about the Gators' road trip to the other Texas team today, the A&M Aggies. Talking about how Florida can win this game, and will they win this game in order to preserve Billy Napier's job at Florida for just a little bit longer. But until we get to that point, we got to get a couple things off our plate. Welcome back to the All Kinds of Weather Forecast. First and foremost, I'm your host, Neil Shulman. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at All Kinds Weather. Also with me today, our co-host, Adrian Perez at Gator Diamond Pod on Twitter. As that at name may suggest, yes, he is the guy behind that Gator Diamond Pod account, and Gator Baseball has begun their fall practices. So be sure to follow that account on Twitter or X, whichever you want to call it. I call it Twitter because I don't really like a lot of what Elon Musk does, but that's neither here nor there. It is Twitter, it is X, whatever. Gator Diamond Pod is on there. Follow them there for all the news and updates you could ever ask for from Gator Stickball. Also follow Adrian on his personal at ADNDEL. Got to take a second to shout out our sponsor. The All Kinds of Weather Forecast is proudly sponsored by 401k Generation, the wealth management company that helps you invest today for your future tomorrow. Their team of advisors is committed to providing guidance and education for your 401k plan and its participants. And they also offer a range of enrollment solutions tailored to meet the unique needs of your company's 401k plan. Whether it's savings for your child's college, investment advice, or even just your retirement, 401k Generation's team of advisors makes getting to know you their top priority. Their advisors will tailor a path to assist you in navigating life's financial milestones and reaching your financial goals. That's 401k Generation, building stronger futures, one generation at a time. For more information, contact them 866-998-5879 or visit their website, 401kgeneration.com. Last but not least, our in-house model, run by our guy Dustin, who also does the pretty graphics you see on the screen right now. Dustin Smith, the brains behind the All Kinds of Weather Forecaster model. It's batting 62.5% against the spread this year and 71.7% when picking wins and losses outright on the year. That's pretty good. As we talk about on the show every now and then, 55% when done over a long enough period of time is a good enough average to earn money and earn a living as a professional gambler in Las Vegas. So 62.5%, obviously well above that. So if you want access to all those numbers and see the thinking that goes behind the model, be sure to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/CFB Forecaster. We share some of the numbers here on the podcast every Thursday, but the Patreon members get exclusive access to all the data every game, every week. So there are different tiers to it. The higher you go, the more access to it you get, including more advanced stats, full season picks, and even some credits to run your own game simulations once that feature launches down the road. By joining, not only are you investing in the future of this model, you're giving yourself a major advantage with the numbers that you need to make smarter picks. So that's patreon.com/CFB Forecaster. All right, Adrian, we're talking today about a team that, like I said to start the show, very much enjoys what we did to end the last show, flipping the horns down. Texas A&M, they sing a song called Saw Varsity's Horns Off at the end of every third quarter and after every kickoff. They don't like Texas very much. They very much like what Florida did to Texas this past week, beating them to knock them not only from the ranks of the top 10, but from the ranks period. They're not in the top 25 anymore at all. Texas A&M does get the fortune of facing the Gators on their home soil, which their brethren to the west in Austin did not get the advantage of. But similar to the Longhorns, this is a team in Texas A&M that is facing a Florida team that is desperate. We talked about that before the Texas game. We talked about that after the Texas game, that Florida was backed up into a corner and had no option but to just start kicking and punching. No other way to go about it. A&M faces that same level of desperation here because one Florida victory does not by any means undo the myriad of terrible losses that have mounted on Billy Napier, not just this year to USF, but over the course of his 4 years at Florida. So The very first thing, before we even begin to preview A&M, are we going to see a similar version to Florida from what we saw last week, this time on the road in Aggie land?
Ooh, wow. I had the answer to that one, huh? Well, listen, Billy has yet to win on the road against a good team in the SEC. The only wins that he has have been against a poor Vanderbilt team before Diego Pavia era was there, and other bad teams. No one ranked. So he's got to do something he's never done before as the head coach of the Florida Gators.
True. LSU was ranked last year and Ole Miss was ranked last year, but they've been very few and far between.
On the road?
Oh, sorry, on the road you said. No, he didn't beat Vandy on the road.
No, not on the road.
He beat Vandy at home, not even on the road.
Yeah, but wasn't Vandy one of their road wins?
Nope. We lost to Vandy on the road. We beat them at home.
That's even worse than I thought then. But the only road wins that he has are against non-ranked SEC teams. So he has yet to beat a good SEC ranked team on the road. Hasn't happened. So he's got to do something he hasn't done before. And who knows, man? He's so inconsistent. That's one of the caveats of the Billy Napier era is the inconsistency. So, man, I got no idea. We're going to talk about it, but I'm so curious to see what happens Saturday because I have no idea what type of team's going to show up there for Florida. None. How about you?
I have no idea either. That's why I asked you. We're two guys talking about the Gators on a podcast where we just openly admit we have no idea what's going to happen. I think that's part of civil. I think that's part of civil discourse now too. It's okay to say you don't know the answer to something, especially when the bag has been as mixed as it has been with Billy Napier in Florida. We saw a lot of things against Texas that we haven't seen really ever under Billy Napier. We saw a lot of 11 personnel against Texas. We didn't even talk about that because we had so many other things to mention about that game. We saw a lot of 11 personnel. We saw we saw a few deep shots we hadn't seen before. Our offensive line looked good. Our defense actually looked the worst it looked all season. We did touch on that. I have no clue what we're going to look like either. I guess
we actually saw a couple of good plays, a couple of shots that we took on second and short. When the Billy Napier staple is on second and short, you just run real quick just to get the first down. Got the first down, thank gosh. Second and short, you try and take a shot. And we actually saw that, and the Gators got a couple of their bigger plays on those types of shot calls. So who knows? Is he going to stick with that or revert back to the norm? Who knows, man?
Well, I mean, look, we talked a lot before the game and then during the game and then really after the game. Florida won the game. We're happy about that. We're thrilled about that. Top 10 win, horns down, Swamp is back. We're all thrilled. Texas is not that great. We saw a lot of things that they put on film that are not conducive to winning SEC football games. I think they're going to lose several times the rest of the way. They'll make a bowl game. I don't think they're going to win more than 8 games this year. I think 8-4 is their absolute ceiling, and it could very easily be 6-6. I mean, I have no idea how they're going to look against Vandy, for example. They have to go to Georgia, obviously Oklahoma this week. Who knows what Arkansas will look like with an interim coach down the road? Like, we have no idea how that rest of the season is going to play out. I could see Texas losing 3 or 4 more games the rest of the way. So that's the team Florida just beat. I don't think A&M is that same profile. Their record obviously is different. It's 5-0. They also have some signature wins this year. They beat Notre Dame on the road. They made Mississippi State look really bad after Mississippi State by no means is the national title contender, but they're significantly improved from a year ago. Texas A&M makes them look very pedestrian with a 31-9 win. Also beat Auburn, which is okay. Like, that's not a fantastic team, but nonetheless, an SEC team could have been a trap game. No, they avoided it. So they're 5-0. Right. A&M, I think, is significantly better than Texas. Their profiles look somewhat similar if you look at first the makeup of their roster, a lot of 5 stars there, and then also they're better on defense than they are on offense. But there's also a lot of differences between A&M and Texas as well. The main one of which is obviously they win games against big-time opponents. They beat Notre Dame. They've beaten Auburn. They've beaten Mississippi State. So a far cry from the cupcake walk that Texas had in their 3 wins of the year. So, Adrian, what sticks out to you from watching some A&M film?
No, man, you hit the nail on the head because I was going to mention that, so you already did. But yeah, this is not like a lot of teams that have played, the majority of their schedule cupcakes. They've played 3 bona fide opponents that you already talked about. 5-0, they're 2-0 in the SEC. Their defense is ranked 6th nationally, all right, in sacks. They have 18 sacks. Their third down defense is top 5 nationally. Their third down defense is elite. I think I read a stat that in the last 2 games against Mississippi State and Auburn, they've only allowed 1 conversion on third down in the last 2 games. So their third down defense is elite. They're top 50 in scoring defense. They're allowing 21 points a game, and they're number 21 in total defense, allowing less than 300 yards per game. So their defense is top notch. This is almost like the inverse, Neil, of Florida. Last year, Mike Elko, their head coach, had somebody else calling the defense. He wasn't happy, so he's taken over the defensive play calling duties this year. So that's like the opposite of Florida, right? Where Billy has been the play caller the whole time. So this is going to be the battle of 2 head coaches. You rarely see that, of 2 head coaches, one that calls the offense and one that calls the defense. So Mike Elko's calling his defense. Let me tell you, man, I'm going to highlight 3 guys for you. One guy for Recruitniks, you've heard of this name, defensive end Cassius Howe. He came down to Florida and A&M. He was a transfer 2 years ago out of Bowling Green. He's leading them in sacks. He's number 9, defensive end. He's going to be a handful on the edge, okay? Gators will behoove them to double team him with one of the tight ends, at least leave a running back in there to chip him, do something. If not, he's going to raise some havoc. Linebacker number 27, Damian Sanford, another guy. He's the only other player on their defense with more than 1 sack, all right? He has 3 sacks total. He's kind of like a pass rushing linebacker. And then their leading tackler is their other linebacker, Torian York, number 21. Very tough against the run. He leads the team with 34 tackles. There's a couple of guys on this defense that you're also going to be familiar with. One Scooby Williams and one DJ. What was it? DJ, right?
Jadon Hill. Jadon Hill.
No, Searcy.
Oh, TJ Searcy. Yeah.
TJ Searcy. Jadon Hill graduated.
Course already. Yeah.
Well, Searcy and Scooby, minimal contributions. Not a lot of stats on them. So I think Scooby's might be injured, but even if he's coming back, not much production by Searcy and Scooby. Those other guys are the big power horses on that defense. So that's going to be the defense. On offense, Neil, Marcel Reese last year had a field day. That was his first game as a starter in the swamp. And we were all thinking, woohoo, man. Yeah, baby. This guy, first game in the swamp, he's going to be eating up. And he ate up the Gator defense, dude. Their offense right now is number 22 in total offense at 460 yards per game. They're number 42 in scoring offense at 35 points per game. And Marcel Reese, like I said, is 86 for 144 for 1,256 yards, 11 touchdowns with only 3 INTs. He has a rating of 154. He's got 2 main targets, both of them transfers, by the way. So that's just a portal error, right? He could lose players, get transfer kids in. You have a couple months in spring ball to get familiarized, and here you go. Mario Craver wears number 1. He's a Mississippi State transfer. He leads in receptions at 30 with 557 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then Casey Concepcion, transfer from NC State. He wears number 7. He has 24 receptions, 401 yards, and leads them with 5 touchdowns. And the last guy that I highlight will be the running back. He also had a pretty good day against Florida last year, Le'Veon Moss. He leads them with 65 carries, 343 yards, and 5 TDs. They're a versatile offense. Marcel Reed is a purely dual threat quarterback, as pure as it comes. He could beat you with his feet. He could beat you with his arms. He's completely healthy, unlike our guy, unfortunately. So this guy's got his legs under him. So the Gators, Neil, I think they got to have a full-time spy on him, and especially after the experience that they had last year. If they let this guy run wild on us, it's going to be a long day, man.
Yeah, I mean, first things first, I want to give credit to Texas A&M and Mike Elko because last year, just remember how the year goes. They lose the opener to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame then goes and loses to Northern Illinois. So right away, people are thinking, oh, God, this team is going to need a lot of tweaking in the offseason. But then they go and then they beat Florida, like you say, 33-20. It's not even that close. The game is a complete blowout until Florida kind of sneaks back in with some garbage time scores. But then they go on a run. They have some struggles. They barely beat Bowling Green. They barely beat Arkansas. But then they start really looking good. They blow Missouri away. They beat Mississippi State by multiple scores. They beat a top 10 LSU team at the time to start their slide. Then they lose to South Carolina. And then they beat New Mexico State, and then it just unravels. They lose to Auburn on the road. Then they lose to Texas in an ugly 17-7 game. And then they lose the bowl game to USC, which I don't really think bowl games mean a whole lot anymore unless they're playoff games, but whatever. They start the year 0-1. They get themselves to 7-1, and then it completely unravels. So what do the Aggies do? They just reload. They just get themselves the better personnel. Even this year, the transfers you mentioned in the passing game have made that a lot more of a threat. It's, I would still say, not the most dangerous passing game Florida's going to face all year, but it's one of them for sure. I would say on paper, LSU's was more frightening, even though it didn't look that way when we played them. But the talent is certainly there for A&M to have a fantastic offensive or aerial attack. And this year, they're just winning games. So far, so good. 5-0, no real struggles. Auburn was 16-10, but they, from watching at least the highlights of that game, they felt to be in control for the most part throughout that game. So game control metric, when it comes time to pick the CFP field, that's going to look very well on them, assuming that continues to happen. They keep winning games. Now they play Florida. Like I said, like we both said, this is a team that's going to be desperate. We saw new things from Florida a week ago, things that A&M hasn't seen on tape before. The 11 personnel, the deep shots, just more aggression, period. More Dallas Wilson than anyone else has ever seen, period, because that's the first time he's played all year. Burnell Brown also helping out with a big play. Do we think that Florida has any more tricks up its sleeve, or do we think that they exhausted all the tricks that they had under Billy Napier against Texas?
Man, every time Billy Napier has tried to do a trick play, it's blown up in his face. So I hope Billy doesn't do any trick plays, all right?
Well, the 11 personnel is a trick play because he's never done it before.
It's never a good thing.
It is a trick play.
Listen, I'll be happy if I just see a lot of the things that we saw against Texas. I'm afraid that was just a one-game fluke type of thing coming off of the bye week, and they instilled some of these new things for the game right after the bye week, and then they might just revert back to how they were doing things. I hope not. So I'll be happy if they just stick with everything you just said and they continue to build on that, man. So we'll see. I'm not looking for nothing new. Just continue doing what they did against Texas. It's plenty of stuff that I hadn't seen all season. I just want to see more of it. There you go.
The problem is that now Texas A&M has seen it on film.
Yeah.
Texas didn't. So, look, that's not the end-all, be-all. The Gators could go out and again, have their superior athletes make big plays. You can't scheme up a way to stop Dallas Wilson doing what he did. You can't come up with any kind of defensive alignment that's going to stop Burnell Brown from going up and making a superior athlete play. Like, that can still happen. Lagway, as we've seen, is still capable of throwing darts down the field. He doesn't always do it, but he's capable of it. So there's Texas A&M can prepare and watch film and study what Florida did all they want. If Florida's great athletes go out and do these things, they can't stop them. No one can. That's why Florida put such a heavy emphasis on getting them, which in the previous show, we gave the Gators staff and their NIL team all the credit that they deserve for going out and acquiring these players. Billy said talent acquisition business. For once, he actually practiced what he preached, and he got it. So, great. The problem is if Florida's offensive line is not ready for war for a second week in a row against a very talented Texas A&M defensive front, DJ Lagway is not going to have the time to climb the pocket like he did a week ago. His receivers are not going to have time to run their routes. Florida's running backs like Jaden Baugh are not going to have anywhere to go. Florida's offensive line was mixed over the first 4 games. It did some good things, especially the left side of the line. Jake Slaughter, obviously a plug-and-play piece at center. He's always going to do his job. Austin Barber, for the most part, has been good. There have been holes on the right side of the line. We think we may have fixed it with Caden Jones, but we need to see this best. We need to see the best of Florida's offensive line for a second straight week against a blue-chip laden roster at A&M, or none of that is going to matter. None of the Gators' offensive stars are going to have a chance to do anything if Florida's offensive line does not show up ready to play. Okay, so we talked a little bit about A&M. We talked a lot about Florida, obviously. Those are the 2 teams that are going to do battle in this game. We have not talked, for the most part, about the Texas A&M coaching staff, which does have a Florida flavor to it. Jay Bateman, Coach Chaos. The question that I've been wondering, because it has been a minute, but do we think that there's any advantage for either team knowing those other coaches' tendencies, either from Florida's perspective to know what Coach Chaos and Jay Bateman like to do with their respective guys, or from their end knowing and having been inside the Florida locker for a few years?
Yeah, man. I would think that those coaches, having coached under Billy Napier and Billy Napier being the play caller, is somewhat, it has to be some of an advantage for them, right? They know how, I mean, they've been in meeting rooms with Billy. They've seen how Billy schemes up on offense, if that's what you call it. They see how Billy likes to call a game. They've seen it firsthand. So that has to be an advantage for them, especially both of those guys being on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see. Will Billy plan on that? Will he do some self-scouting on what those guys might think he might do on a certain situation and do the opposite or do something different? I don't know. We'll see. Is Billy even made out like that? I don't know. I think Billy just strikes me as the type of guy that's going to run what he's going to run, and that's it. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's given me that impression over the last 3.5 seasons that he's just going to do what he wants to do, and there's nothing you or I or the man on the moon can do to stop it, or the boosters can do to stop it, by the way. That's something we'll call back to later in the year. Don't worry. But for now, we'll just leave it at that. Okay. Talk coaches, talk Gators, talk Aggies. Before we get to the prediction, I think the most important thing about this game is, does Florida play with the same, I don't want to say knowledge because we don't know it to be the case, but under the same implication that they're playing for Coach Billy Napier's job. We talked X's and O's a little bit, but does this Florida offensive line in particular and the Florida defensive line, which got 6 sacks against Texas, do we see the same consistently strong game film from them in particular, knowing or thinking that they know what's at stake for Florida's coaching staff? Because that makes a lot of difference.
Well, if you think that that's what led to them playing the way they played against Texas coming off the bye week, was the sense of urgency that they were playing for their coaching staff. Well, nothing has changed. Okay, nothing has changed. So that sense of urgency then, which is unfortunate that, like you've said numerous times already, it's unfortunate that it takes the start that you have, the losses that you've taken to have that sense of urgency. But nothing has changed. So they should still play that same way against a Texas A&M team. Now, Texas A&M team, I think, is bringing to the table a much better defensive line than what Texas was. It looks like Texas benefited from playing some of these cupcakes that we talked about, while Texas A&M has a more salty schedule that they've been dealing with the same amount of results that Texas had with the soft schedule. So we'll see, man. It's a huge test for the Florida offensive line. Also, Neil, College Station, Kyle Field, home of the 12th man, are the dreaded pre-snap penalties going to rear their ugly head again with this Florida team that always seems to be there on the road. One of the problems that they have with road games is that's one of the main issues that they have when they don't win these games is they start racking up the pre-snap penalties, man. So let's see how many pre-snap penalties. Mark this down. How many pre-snap penalties does our offense get this week? That might play a real big factor because Billy Napier himself said it, how in the first 3 or 4 games, they had a whole boatload of 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2s turn into 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 7s, which changes his whole dynamic of the play that he's going to call. So he said that himself. So can they stay out of that situation? We shall see.
I mean, that's plagued Florida since Napier got here, and really even before, but especially when Napier has been here, it's been a problem. It first became very evident at Utah in 23, and then the next time Florida hits the road against Kentucky, like those are not big stadiums. Salt Lake City, the Rice-Eccles Stadium, and then Kroger Field, I don't think combined they hold 130,000. Like, I think they're both significantly under 70,000, if not even below 60,000. So if those stadiums are going to rally you up, logic says, of course, the bigger ones will rally you up even more and make you commit more stupid penalties. And that's how it's played out the last few years. Miami is not a particularly difficult place to play, but it's also not the Swamp. And Florida committed a couple of them there. LSU on the road, you had a couple of them there as well. So Aggie land is every bit as ferocious when it's at its peak, especially at night, which, by the way, Florida's never seen before. Florida's played there 3 times before, never been at night. It's always been a noon kick, 12, 20, and 22, all kicked at noon. Wow. But at night, it's almost up there with LSU. So Florida's got to be ready for that noise. They got to be ready to get their hard counts down. They got to be ready to just play disciplined football and make sure they're not getting false starts called on them. Got to make sure that they're lined up correctly, all that good stuff that we love to talk about when they happen because they're just so enjoyable to talk about because they do such wonders for Florida offensively. Like they're not offensively challenged enough, or at least appeared not to be before the Texas game. All right, Adrian, let's make some predictions. Talking about our keys to the game. What have you got?
All right, got 3 keys. First and foremost, you got to protect a gimpy DJ Lagway. We talked about it in our last episode. I went over the play in which DJ seemed to have, tweaked something there in his lower right leg. Right after that play, Neil, if you look at his throws after that, there was a difference. He stopped really digging into his throws, pushing off his back leg, which is his right leg, and he started throwing more off his back. Couple of throws sailed on him. So, I already talked to you about all my concerns with DJ Lagway. I talked about it in the last episode. So you got to protect him, man. We talked about it already a little bit today. Cassius Howe, got to keep him in check. So that's my key number 1. Key number 2, Dallas Wilson encore. Is the freshman him? Right? I know that's the new thing, right? I am him. Is Dallas Wilson him? He needs an encore. I know, hey, it's a tough deal, Dallas. On the road at Texas A&M after you did your against Texas at home. But you got it. So you've got to come up with the encore and have as big a game, if not bigger, than you had last week against Texas. Then number 3, we talked about it earlier today. Contain Marcel Reed. I think that's the number 1 key on defense. Like you said, I don't think that they're going to shred you up, in the passing game. They'll be just effective enough, but I'm going to tell you where they'll kill you. The 3rd down conversions with Marcel Reed's feet. That's what's going to kill you. Okay? You can't let them scramble out for those 10 to 12-yard gains when they're 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. That will kill you. Those drive extenders will be absolute murder. Honorable mention. I'm going to give an honorable mention key to the game. How well we handle the 12th man. We just talked about it. but I had it written right here. And like you said, I didn't even know about that we haven't been there at night. All our games have been noon kickoffs there. Wow, that's a difference, man. Night games to noon. Just look at the Swamp. We all know that. So how well we handle the 12th man at night, how well our offensive line deals with that, the play calling coming in from the sidelines, how quick we get that in, everything. That's going to be a big key also. What do you got, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, think about the Swamp's difference from noon to night games. Now toss in an additional 14,000 more fans that they can pack into that stadium. It's just different. I mean, I was there in 22 for that game in Billy's first year. It was a noon kickoff, and they were pretty pissed at their own program. That was the Jimbo Fisher downfall. They were still loud. Like for a game that they were very clearly not up for. They had, I think, Connor Wegman start that game, and they were just so checked out of their own team. And there were 10,000 plus empty seats in that game. They were still loud. So it's going to be something this Saturday night when Florida goes there. It's going to be something like you never experienced. I'm not sure that even Death Valley this year holds a candle to what Kyle Field's going to be, because that game was kind of just a meh, ugly game. Yeah, they won. Yeah, they were happy about winning, but LSU never really gave them a chance to get themselves into the game. Players, the team didn't give the fans really a reason to voice their full support. I have the feeling that A&M will. And also they're 5-0.
5-0. Top 5.
Good start. Right. So they'll be ready. Florida fans or Florida players better be as well. So that's a key, because it has to be. Number 2, I want to see how often Florida goes 11 personnel and lets their wide receivers do things in the passing game. You talked about Dallas Wilson having an encore. I think in the last show, you also talked about how you were happy that Florida finally utilized their wide receivers as the focal point of the passing game. Cool. Do it again. Do it again. Hayden Hansen is not the kind of athlete that's going to be going up and making these sports center type of plays. He's a perfectly good SEC football player. There certainly is a use for him on this roster. He is absolutely worthy of that roster spot, and he can even catch the ball a few times. It's not for that reason. Arliss Boardingham was better at that, and he's no longer with us. So now the best athletes you have are clearly in the wide receiver room. And they even were when Boardingham was here. But now it's even more stark of a difference. Dallas Wilson, Burnell Brown, J. Michael Sertiman isn't even the kind of athlete that those two freshmen are, but he is a better athlete than you're going to see from the Florida tight end room. Let those guys make the plays. And then the third key is the offensive line has to give the offense, the rest of the offense, time to do what it does. Like I said, they better be ready for war for a second straight week against a team that is littered with 5-star talent, at worst 4-star talent across its board. Texas A&M has 18 sacks on the year through 5 games. That's a lot. That's a lot more than Florida has. Florida has 6 in one game against Texas. Texas A&M averages more than 3 sacks per game. And again, that was against bona fide opponents like Texas or like Auburn, like Mississippi State, and like Notre Dame. So they're not just doing it against cupcakes. They have actual opponents on their schedule that they have those stats against. Florida's offensive line better be ready. Those are my keys. Now, let's make some predictions. And I forgot to charge my iPad, so I can't use that for my score hold up. But we will make them at the same time. And we will do them together. So, Adrian, you know what? I'll do it on my other computer. How about that?
Do it on your computer. Hey, while you're doing that, one funny thing about Texas A&M, they got the cadets in full uniform, the whole 9, and all that good stuff. But that's not really a ROTC pro. It's like a club, but it's not a military school. They have no affiliation with no military whatsoever. Not like VMI or like the Citadel or obviously the military academies. That's like the math club for them. But they go all out, man. Uniforms, cadets, ranks, all that, man. So give them credit. I like that. It's pretty funny. But they're nuts,
I like
man.
it too, especially when they try to call themselves a military school. That's where it gets a little kind of over the line from like funny to just all right. That's just a weird claim to make.
They got some.
Not even from a stolen valor standpoint. It's just kind of strange. But no, I mean I like the Aggie people. They were great when I went there in 22. They're good people. They were good people when they came to the Swamp last year. They were just we're sorry, man. This team. This Florida team is just awful, but you guys deserve better. You're a better program than that. Like they were just nice about it. So I don't want to troll them too hard. The yell leaders thing is kind of weird, but all right, whatever. It's their thing. They're not hurting anyone. Yeah. Whoop. I got a little story for you, Ags.
Oh man, that is funny, dude.
It's you know what? It's their thing. It is weird. They're not funny, but whatever. They're not hurting people. So whatever. Just let them do what they do. All right.
Score
I'm
time.
ready to score now. Yes, let's do that. And percent chance to win as well. So
and as always, me and Neil have no idea what we're going to be predicting here. We do not talk about it.
So I had mine set, but I didn't have it written down because my iPad wasn't charged. But here, and I'll add my percent chance right here. I'm kind of torn on this. I'll say, all right, here we go. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, it may not show because of the virtual, but there it is. Okay.
You got 24-13.
Same ballpark.
27-19 I got.
Same ballpark. Huh.
Interesting. So 13 points. So basically, you're saying that was a fluke.
Really good. Their defense is really good, and they generate stats and they generate pressure. Like it's not just statistically good, like Texas's was. Also, again, they played cupcakes. A&M did not, but A&M's defense forces problems. Like they'll get in your face,
and it's a road game. Yeah, and it's a road game. Yeah. It's a tough environment. When it's all said and done, man, it's a tough environment, and you got to show me more if you're a Billy Napier offense than just that one Texas game. I mean, let's face it, Neil, they've been putrid the entire season. So you got to show me more than that one Texas game, and this is on the road in a tough environment. So 13, that's not unfair at all, man. I got us at 19, but we both have a loss. I got an 8-point spread. What do you have? You had 13 to what, 24?
24-13. Yeah, 11.
That's
I don't think it's a
points.
blowout. I don't think it's a blowout. I think Florida comes to play again. Their defense will keep them in the game. But, again, A&M's defense forces problems. They create sacks. Yeah. They can turn you over if you're not careful. So you gotta give them the heavy edge. I actually have Florida having a higher percent chance to win than you did.
Yeah,
I said 37% chance.
Yeah, I had 15%. So,
yeah, I think that's a little low. I think Florida fighting with the talent that it has plus the desperation factor gives them a puncher's chance. Also, A&M being 5-0, I think makes them look a little bit better than they are. I think that there's something to be said about being 5-0, having played 3 real opponents. I had the feeling they'll lose a couple times this year. From what I saw in the Auburn game, they did not look great. They did win the game, but even though it didn't really feel like the game was in jeopardy for them, even when they were down early, it didn't get from a game control feel. It didn't feel like they were super dominant. So, and obviously they weren't because they were never up by a huge margin. But I think A&M at home at night is going to be an atmosphere like Florida has not faced this year. That includes LSU. I think, again, because LSU was kind of just restless, waiting for something big to happen to get loud, and they didn't get it, so they never had the reason to get loud. I think A&M gets loud simply because this is the top 5 team they have, and they're looking to go 6-0.
Yeah, and this is the problem too with what's happened with Billy Napier and these slow starts, right? That your best defensive games, Neil, are behind you. Okay, They're behind you. From here on out, this defense is not going to be as good as they were in those first 4 games. It's just not. I'm pretty sure you're not, because you are going to get attrition. You've already suffered it. And you're
Injuries.
not as fresh as you were. Everybody's already playing hurt. And people are starting to get injured. And playing defense, like I've told you before, Neil, is hard, man. So your best defensive games are behind you. Is this defense going to play as good as they did against LSU? I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't think so. Okay, because I think that LSU offense is not as good as this Texas A&M offense, in my opinion, because I think Nussmeier is vastly overrated. But that defense that played LSU at that time, I think was better, more sharper, more fresh than the defense that's going to play Saturday, especially coming off of Tech. Think about that, Neil. Now you're stacking up just monster games on monster game on monster games, man. That takes a toll on you, dude. So that's what's frustrating about the slow starts from Billy Napier, man. That's what's frustrating also.
Yeah, it's already killed you. Like, I don't want to hear about how, well, what if they win out? We addressed that non-starter in the last episode. But for those who didn't catch it, all right, great. What if he wins out? Cool. He's never beaten more than 2 SEC teams in a row. So you're telling me he's going to win 8 SEC games in a row, the 7 more to end the regular season, plus the SEC title game, and beat FSU, which is going to mean he's also going to beat 3 rival teams in a row in one half of one season after he's beaten 3 rivals in his first 3.5 seasons. No, GTFO, as the kids type these days. No, not going to happen. But on top of that, there is the frustration of, bro, why did it take 3 losses to even get to this point on offense when, like you said, the defense has already played its best game? It can't keep up at this pace. You're assuming, you Billy Napier Sunshiners, you're assuming the defense is going to stay this dominant from game 1 to game 12.
Tough,
That's
man.
not going to happen. Now, like this is what a good team does. There are injuries that happen. There are units, there are players that just don't have it the rest of the season like they did at the start of the season. It happened in basketball, by the way. Go back to basketball. Alex Condon was much sharper early in the year before he got hurt against Mississippi State than he was at the end. Other guys stepped up for him. Alex Condon is a national champion because the other guys stepped up. Now, what he did early in the year should by no means be forgotten about. He absolutely held his own and did his work earlier in the year. But as the year went on, after he came back from that injury, he just wasn't the same. He did not produce at the same level. It's much different when it's an entire unit of your team, like football, where you have offense and defense. You only play one side. But it's much more magnified when it does happen. When you have guys that get injured like this on a unit that makes up 50% of your team, it's just hard to keep it going. Like you said.
This is where now the offense, where it's a team game, right? Because 21 points that they gave up to Texas has been the most that they've given up all season. We haven't given up more this week, right? I got 27 and you have 29, right? If I remember.
I have 24.
24. And I have 27. So that's more than 21. So this is when, you got to be a team now, right? So the offense has to start producing more, has to start getting up into close to the 30-point range to start to have a chance to win these games. The defense gave you your best chance in the first 4 games. You blew it, okay? You blew it, bringing in like 10, 12, 13 points and stuff like that, okay? So you already blew it. Now you got to step up on offense.
16, 10, and 7 to be exact.
Yeah, exactly. But you got to pick up the slack of your defense now, because those days of the defense giving up in the teens, I think, are behind us. We'll see. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. But I think those games are behind us, man. Maybe not against Kentucky, but against everybody else, we're going to have some points put on us, man. Especially with all the people I saw running open on Saturday. So we're going to have some points put on us, man.
That was a problem. That was a problem. And look, they got us once because Cormani McClain didn't do his job on a few different plays. On one of them, Arch Manning actually hit his guy, Ryan Wingo, for a touchdown. But yeah, so look, there's a reason why A&M is favored by, I think, 7.5. Our model has it at way more than that. Dustin our guy doing the graphics behind the scenes, also does the math stuff behind the scenes. He's got A&M as a 12-point favorite. Technically, it's 11.8. The model works on decimal points, so you can figure 11.5 or 12. A&M is favored by there. It's not a game that looks good for Florida at all. And you can talk about how Florida figured something out. You can talk about how DJ Lagway is back healthy. You can talk about how Dallas Wilson has announced himself to the world. Billy Napier is still the coach for Florida. Billy Napier is definitionally a losing coach. He has lost more games at Florida than he has won. Now he's going on the road to face a top 5 opponent that just wins games at home. So I don't like it. Our model doesn't like it. You don't like it. It just doesn't shape up to be a good showing for Florida.
Now, if, and that's a huge if, Billy finds a way to pull this out and they win this game, the swamp against Mississippi State will be a madhouse because that bandwagon is going to get flat tires again. People will start believing, and I don't blame them because I might be one of them. And then you got a bye week going into Georgia. And you know what happens in bye weeks with this Gator football team?
Well, not always, but this year, the first bye week, yeah.
So now people start dreaming again, and things start becoming more realistic. And then you got Kentucky coming up, and they look awful. And then Florida State is taking some L's. You know, Tennessee's going to take some L's now too. But then you got Lane. And Lane might say, not so fast, my friend. Like Lee Corso.
Wouldn't that be so insanely ironic if Florida does F around and win a couple of games here and there to keep the Billy Napier status a question mark? And then of all people, it is Lane Kiffin who delivers the final nail to the coffin. After all the smoke about him coming to Florida, going back 15 years to his comments at Tennessee about singing good old Rocky Top after beating Florida, accusing Urban Meyer of cheating with Keith Richardson from Pahokee at that dinner event. Imagine if it's Lane Kiffin who adds another chapter to his personal story with the Florida Gators and delivers the final L for Billy Napier.
Could you imagine his tweets on X, the trolls?
No,
the troll
it
tweets?
will be legendary.
My God.
It will be legendary. But that only happens if Florida wins this game. Right. That only happens if Florida wins this game and keeps us a question mark between now and then. Yeah, I mean, look, we're talking about a team, like we said, Texas A&M, that's 5-0, a Florida team that's 2-3, that's 21-22 under Billy Napier. He's lost more games than he's won. Mike Elko has found a way to win these types of games at Texas A&M. All the signs point to an A&M win. DJ Lagway going back to his home state, cool storyline. Dallas Wilson, can he do it again? All right, whatever. Fun to talk about. Florida defense has been statistically good, but they got 6 sacks and 2 picks last week. Could they take that next step? All fun to talk about. Texas A&M's a better team. They have been the better team so far this year. It doesn't seem to be especially close. And in the last couple of years under Mike Elko, they've clearly been more consistent than Billy Napier has been in the last 3.5 years. So hopefully we both come back on the show next week and we eat some crow. Hopefully we're talking about Billy Napier keeping his job a little bit longer. We do want that to be the case. We're not rooting against Florida. That's very in all kinds of weather. Like as many head-scratching moments and eye rolls as he has given us as Florida's head coach, we do want the Gators to win. I believe what Chris, our former podcast host, said on the show a year ago against Tennessee, you never root for your team to lose. You just watch them and hope for them to win. And if the coach really is going to get fired, then he'll do it to himself. Then he'll have no one to blame but himself. And it's just going to happen anyway. So we're not rooting for that, rooting for Florida to win. I just don't see it happening. Hopefully we're wrong, and we'll talk about that. Until then, thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to leave a 5-star review and a nice comment, a nice rating, a nice talking point about us on YouTube if you're watching there as well. Please be sure to tell all your friends. All that stuff helps us bring you more great Gators content. Until next time, Neil Shulman signing off. Hopefully we get to do the Texas A&M equivalent of the horns down. I think it's just that. I mean, they do gig them, but they have more fun doing horns down than they do their own side. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do horns up if we beat them, just for max piss off level. But yeah, hopefully we get to even have that conversation because again, A&M is favored by 7.5 in Vegas, 11.5 or 12 according to our model. We hope we're wrong. We'll talk about all that next week. Until then, go Gators, chomp chomp. Let's pull off another upset and beat the Aggies.